But before I begin, be sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on post notifications as well.
Look, Mom, I made this for you.
Thank you, that's pretty.
I had to get A on a row, A, B on a row, and I had to do good things in the class and help.
So you make good grades.
Especially the Pocahontas sheets brought a priceless reaction.
Turn it around and see what it is.
But there were no worries at Amber's 9th birthday party.
You may not know her face, but you know her name. You hear it on the radio. You see it on your phone. You see it here on your TV.
The McDonald County Sheriff's Office has issued an Amber Alert for a child abduction.
Whenever a child has gone missing and is fear of being abducted, kidnapped, it's the word no parent wants to hear. When a child goes missing, every second counts. If a child has been missing for more than 48 hours, the worst often comes to fear. It's every parent's worst nightmare. This is a tragic story of a girl who changed the world, who has saved the lives of hundreds of children and changed the way we handle kidnappings forever. This is the true story of Amber Hageman, the girl who inspired the Amber Alert.
The following message is transmitted at the request of the Texas Department of Public Safety. This is a child abduction alert issued by the Texas Amber Alert Network. Listen carefully. We need your help.
Amber Hageman was born on November 25, 1986, to Donna Whitson and Richard Hageman. Donna saw Amber as a miracle child. As a medical condition Donna got as a child meant she might never be able to have her own babies. This hurt her as she wanted to be a mother. But when Donna was 19, she gave birth to Amber. Many might have raised their eyebrows as Richard was in his 30s at the time. But Donna loved Amber. 5 years later, Donna gave birth to Ricky. Donna raised her kids in Arlington, a city that sits between Fort Worth and Dallas. Her parents, Jimmy and Glenda, also live there. Donna tried to make her children live as best as she could. For a while, the family lived on welfare. At one point, Donna caught the eye of a documentary crew that filmed the lives of her family as she went from welfare to getting a job. The crew caught many glances of the family as they went about their days. Her 9th birthday was captured as she played with her friends, blew the candles, and opened presents. All of this was filmed just a few months before the tragedy struck. Donna didn't want Amber to be like her. She wanted Amber to be successful. She encouraged Amber to read, study, and do well in school. She attended Berry Elementary along with Ricky. Amber won many awards at her school, showing she was indeed a smart little girl. She was also a bit of a mother herself. She helped around the house and helped take care of Ricky. Like her mom, she wanted to be a mommy when she grew up. She was also a Girl Scout, working her way up to be a junior Girl Scout. Like many little girls, she liked playing with Barbies. One of her new favorite movies was Disney's Pocahontas, to which she even got bedsheets for. The family often visited the grandparents' house. While there, one of Amber and Ricky's favorite hobbies was riding their bikes. Because they lived in an apartment, the bikes stayed in the grandparents' house. There was much more room there and much more place to go and ride around in. Amber may not have been rich, or maybe not the most popular girl in school, but she was happy, and that was all that mattered. It seemed that she was going to be exactly what her mom wanted her to be, but sadly, fate had other plans. Saturday, January 13th, 1996. Amber and her family were enjoying the weekend. Saturdays were usually spent at the grandparents' house, and this was no different. They spent the day shopping, going to the park, and eating at a Burger King before heading out there. Amber and her family arrived there around 3 o'clock. One of the first things the children wanted to do was ride their bikes. Amber had just gotten that bike for Christmas. It was a warm day for January, so the adults let them as the weekend was the only chance they got to ride them. Arlington was rather safe too, and they were in a safe neighborhood. Still, Donna told them not to be out too long, at least around the block. As Amber rode away, she said her last words to her mom. "Okay, Mommy, I will. I love you, Mommy." However, the kids disobeyed and went further than they were told. They rode their bikes in a parking lot by an abandoned Winn-Dixie. Even though the Winn-Dixie was closed there were other businesses around it. They liked to ride around on the ramp, something they did often. There were no employees, so they did this as much as they pleased. Soon, Ricky starts to get worried he might get in trouble, and decides to head back home. The adults sent him to go and get Amber alone. He went to the parking lot and went back, but he couldn't find her. After he headed back, Jimmy then took him to go and get Amber. But when they got there, she wasn't there. What they did see was her bike abandoned on the ground. They also saw a police officer. There, they got some news no parent wants to hear. Amber had been abducted. Jim Keevil, a 78-year-old man, witnessed it from his backyard. According to Keevil, Amber was riding her bike in the parking lot, going up and down the ramp. Keevil was working in his backyard and had a view of the parking lot. Keevil thought nothing of it at first. He probably had seen kids in that parking lot before. Even Amber and Ricky had played in it before. It seemed safe. That was all about to change. As Amber rode her bike, he saw a man run up and grab her. He drags her off her bike and grabs hold of her. Amber can only kick and scream, knowing she is no match for him. She can only hope someone sees or hears her. The man forces Amber into his black truck and drives away. Keevil can only watch in shock. He then quickly dials 911.
Arlington 911, what are you reporting? Yeah, I saw a black pickup, and he grabbed a little girl and he took off toward town with her. And she hollered.
While he has poor eyesight, he describes as best as he can. He claims the man grabbed Amber and forced her into his truck. He grabbed her under his arms, leaving no fingerprints on the bike. Keevil says the man was either white or Hispanic, probably under 6 feet, medium build, black or brown hair, and in his 20s or 30s. He's able to describe the truck better. He says it was a single cab pickup black truck with no dents, chrome, or striping. It was most likely 80s or 90s. The truck turned left on East Abram Street. Amber's grandfather is horrified. Now he has to return home and tell his daughter the grim news. When Donna saw his face, she knew something was wrong. When he tells her, she panics, wanting to run everywhere to go and look for Amber. Her father tries to calm her down, telling her the police are coming, but she doesn't care. But with no other way to locate her, she doesn't have much of a choice. All they can do now is wait. The police arrive sometime later. They get a description of what Amber looks like, what she was wearing, and her abductor. Donna and the family make flyers to hang around town, hoping someone might have seen her. But as hours pass, Donna starts to lose hope. It's no better for the police. Their description on the man is vague. All they know is that he's either white or Hispanic, in his 20s or 30s, and has medium build. Not even the better description of the truck helps. Maybe if this were a small town, they would find it. But this is the Dallas metro area. They are looking for a needle in a haystack, but they can't lose hope. Time is not on their side. 75% of the time in kidnappings, the chances of the child being murdered happen within the first 3 hours. When they are missing for 24 hours, it drops more. If the child is missing for 48 to 72 hours, the chances of finding them alive, if they are even found, are very slim. The police track down every black truck they can, but there's only so much they can do alone. The family and friends do what they can too. Donna can only watch the news. Some of the police prevent her and Ricky from leaving in case the abductor is after them too. The police try to lessen the search by only going after registered sex offenders in the city, but they are finding nothing. 1 day turns to 2. 2 days turn to 3. The police know the chances of finding Amber are slim, but they don't give up. Some of the documentary footage is shown on TV. Her family hopes the footage will help more than just a still picture. Soon it was the 4th day, January 17th, 1996. A man named Stuart Kosher was taking his dog for a late night walk around 11:30 p.m. His dog then ran into the creek. There, he made a gruesome discovery. Lying in the creek, face down, was Amber. She was naked except for one sock on her right foot. Kosher knew who it was immediately, seeing her story on the news. He called 911, and the police confirmed it was her. Later that night, the police confirmed to the family she was found dead. Donna was devastated. At first, her family was in denial. Her father Richard said she was still alive. She wanted to see her baby, but the cops would not let her. She was in such bad condition that they thought seeing her would traumatize Donna. What was supposed to be a fun, happy weekend turned into a nightmare. Her body was found only 4 miles from where she was abducted. The only question now was, why? Amber was gone, but Donna wouldn't go without a fight. Amber's funeral was held on Saturday, January 20th, 1996. 1 week after her abduction, thousands gathered to honor and grieve the little girl. America the Beautiful was played, which was her favorite song. Her favorite line, "For Amber waves a grain." Friends, family, police officers, Berry Elementary's teachers and students, and total strangers attended. She was laid to rest at Moore Memorial Gardens Cemetery in Arlington. Donna would spend the next few weeks at her parents' before she and Ricky returned home. Life wasn't the same. Donna was depressed, and Ricky became aggressive. He didn't understand completely why Amber was gone. Donna had to tell him she was in heaven now. But Donna knows she can't stay inside all day. She attends some of the Girl Scout meetings where Amber is updated to a junior Girl Scout. At Berry Elementary, the students sing a song, and a new playground is placed in her honor. After returning home without Amber, she tries to adjust to life without her. However, Donna wants change. Donna eventually advocates for stronger laws against offenders to Washington and several states, but she still wonders why the public didn't find out sooner. A Texas mother feels the same. Diana Simone called her local radio station, KMX. She asked them if there can be alerts for bad weather and civil defense. Why not for child abductions? They liked it, and the Amber Alert was born. In 1998, 8-week-old Ray Lee Bradbury became the first rescued by the Amber Alert after being abducted by her babysitter in Arlington. While it took almost a decade, every state would eventually have it. It has gone on to save the lives of thousands of children and put abductors in jail. It does have flaws, of course. It can be overused, confusing if not enough information is out, and even useless if not used in the first 3 hours. But if even with just one life can be saved, that's good enough for many. Today, Donna still advocates for child safety. While she's still hurt by Amber's murder, she was able to turn some of that pain into action. Ricky now has a family of his own and still lives in Texas. Jimmy Whitson passed away in 2009, and Glinda in 2017. Sadly, Richard would pass away in 2007, joining his daughter. He never got to find out who his daughter killer was. An Amber Hagerman memorial was made at the abduction site in 2021, the 25th anniversary. It has a statue, painting, and flowers. Various documentaries have been made, including a 2006 made-for-TV movie called Amber Story, and a 2022 documentary which interviews family and investigators called Amber, the Girl Behind the Alert. I'm sure the future will hold even more. Donna should be proud of her daughter for making a difference, even if it did come at the cost of her own child's life. Amber would be 39 today. Because there was only one witness, and with little evidence, there aren't many wild theories. She was kidnapped by a man in a black truck. Of course, many want to know why and who. There were a few suspects. Some police thought Kosher might have done it. He did find the body, and late at night when it was hard to see. In a newspaper, an infant that was found in a dumpster was discussed. And Kosher was also there too, though it never really said if he was the one who found it or not. However, he didn't own a black truck. There's also the question where he would even keep her. Kosher had a family, so he couldn't go and keep her in his home. Donna also supposedly had a boyfriend, who was considered and questioned, but nothing came out either. Some people were suspicious of the old man Keeble. Some think he might have made up the black truck story. However, it would be hard for him. Amber left her house around 3:10, and Keeble called the police at 3:18. This gives 8 minutes. Considering Ricky was with her for a few of those minutes, this makes it even harder. Keeble would have to drag her out of the parking lot, which would be hard. Not an easy task for an old man. Even a young person would have trouble. He also didn't take her in the neighborhood. Too risky. Richard too was questioned but let go. Considering he and Donna worked together, she might have never considered him at all. The time just didn't match up. Police chased dozens of black trucks and went after sexual offenders, but couldn't find her. Even in a big area like Dallas, one would think the killer would have made at least one slip up and give himself off, but he didn't. There wasn't anything on the bike, and most of the evidence was washed away off her body in the storm. Still, investigators believed he lived in the area. Her body was found only 4 miles away from the site, so he never went far. Her body was hidden well, so he had to be familiar with the area. It's also believed she was alive for 2 days when he had her. He had to keep her somewhere close, yet where he wouldn't draw attention. Even though there was only one witness that came forward, it's believed that there may have been more. There was a laundromat across the street from where she was abducted. Investigators believed the owners might have seen something, but the owners, being illegal aliens, wouldn't say anything in fear of being deported. While police have looked for sex offenders, there was no saying that the man was a registered one. Amber might have been his first, and maybe even his last. Still, how he has never been found, or at least why no one has ever been arrested, is still questionable. Was there something that they just missed? Maybe the elderly man got the year wrong. Maybe it did have dents and markings. Even so, it's possible they wouldn't have found it. The abductor was probably hiding it for months after the abduction. Today, the man would be in his late 50s to early or mid 60s. Could this narrow it down? But there's no proof he still lives in the area or not. Still, time is running out as he grows older. Hopefully, her killer will be found one day, and finally bring the justice Amber and her family deserve. It's been almost 30 years since Amber's murder, and still it has not been solved. Some DNA has been collected from her body. Investigators hope with some better technology, This will help find her killer. Police and detectives have either retired or died, and new ones have taken their place. Amber's friends have grown up and now have their own families. Some buildings have been demolished and replaced by newer ones. But one thing hasn't changed. Arlington will always remember Amber, and there will always be people there to fight justice for her. In 2003, President George W. Bush signed the PROTECT Act into law. It establishes a framework in the event that a child is abducted. Amber Alerts started on radio and TV. Today, they can be sent on phones so anyone can see them. Whether they are at home, the road, or at work, or somewhere else, they can see the alert. They can keep an eye out, just to go and make sure whomever they are looking for isn't there or not. While the Amber Alert isn't perfect, it still has been more effective than the missing children mail campaigns. Those often took days to come out, and by then, it might have been too late. There is possibly nothing more scary for a parent than when their child goes missing. Everyone wants to keep them safe, and the Amber Alert helps with that. There are so many missing children in this country, many of which have been missing for months or even years. The chances of finding them is unlikely, but not impossible. Maybe one day another way will be found to make the Amber Alert even more effective, so that missing kids can become a rarity. Then, kids can be safe from sea to shining sea. So, today's case is going to be a special one. By that, I mean I'm going back. Way back. Back to the Victorian era. We will be going back to 1867, just a couple years after the American Civil War ended. But this case is interesting, as there usually aren't a lot of details of murders from back then. It wouldn't be surprising. Many murders from back then are now lost in time, but this one is fairly well known. This is about the murder of Fanny Adams, a girl from the UK who died in a very brutal way. I have read some bad murders before, but this one shocked me. Because this case happened so long ago, there aren't many photos of Fanny, or anything else really involved. Because of that, I'll be doing some AI photos and some old unrelated videos. So let's get into DeLorean and go back to 1867. This is the murder of sweet Fanny Adams. Fanny Adams was born on April 30th, 1859 to George and Harriet Adams. She had 5 siblings. She was the 4th born in the family. She lived in Tanhouse Lane, Alton, Hampshire, a small community in the UK. George was a bricklayer. The town itself, however, was a brewery town, and stayed like that for several decades. While her family wasn't rich, she wasn't poor either. Her family had a small house and food on the table, so she was happy. Fanny was described as tall, comely, and intelligent. She was described as a cheerful girl by everyone, someone who was lively and could make you smile. She looked older than 8, though she was still a child in the end. She was best friends with a girl named Minnie Warner, who was also her age. Fanny was just an average kid. She liked to play, be with her family, and do anything else kids from that time. However, this would all change on August 24th, 1867. August 24th, 1867, started out normally. Harriet was taking care of the kids, while George played cricket with some friends. Fanny, Minnie, and Fanny's little sister, Lizzie, decided to go play. Harriet saw no reason to not let them go. After all Alton was a safe town, they decided to go play at a place called Flood Meadows. It was a place that they played often. It's a recreational area, located near the center of town. It has woodlands, grasslands, and much more. It's often seen as a hidden gem. It's still in Alton today. As the girls went to the area, a man approached them. He was wearing a black frock coat, light waistcoat, and trousers. The girls recognized this man from church. He was Frederick Baker, a 29-year-old solicitor's clerk who recently moved to town. While they didn't really know him too well, they assumed he was a nice guy. The girls could tell he was drunk by the way he was acting. Baker offered Minnie and Lizzie a 3 halfpence if they would go and play somewhere and buy some candy. He then offered Fanny a halfpenny if she would follow him to the Hollow, which is a road that leads to the village of Shalden. She took the money, but refused to go with him. So Baker then grabbed her and ran off, leaving the girls. That would be the last time anyone would see Fanny alive. This all happened around 1:30. The 2 girls would play for around 3 hours before heading home. Now, we should ask ourselves, why didn't Minnie and Lizzie do something? Why didn't they tell someone a man took Fanny or screamed for help? Why didn't Fanny? This was 1867. Stranger danger wasn't as much as a thing back then. At least not in the way it does today. However, there are a few tales of this story. One is the girls played until 5 o'clock, and then they told a neighbor, Mrs. Garner, what happened. Other stories say, however, that the girls told Minnie's mom right after the abduction, who then told Mrs. Garner and then told Harriet. Whatever the case, Fanny was missing for over 3 hours when Harriet found out. The first 3 hours for child abductions are the most important. About 76% of murdered children were killed within the first 3 hours of their abduction. The chances of surviving after 24 hours, 48, 72, drop more and more. By then, they are more likely dead or have been trafficked. This is why Amber Alerts are critical. But in 1867, Amber Alerts were more than 130 years away. Of course, there was no DNA testing too. Heck, people didn't even know what DNA was back then. When Harriet was told what happened, she became really worried, and she and Mrs. Warner ran to the spot Fanny was last seen at. When they got there, they ran to Baker. This was supposedly their conversation. Harriet demanded to know where Fanny was, but Baker denied any involvement, other than giving her money for candy. Again, 1867. Kids were not warned to take candy from strangers back then. The 2 women seemed to accept it and left. By dinner, a search party was formed. They looked around for her, but they couldn't find her. But they didn't have to wait long. A man named Thomas Gates went to a hop garden so he could tend his crop. There, he found a gruesome discovery. This is where the video gets dark. There, he found the decapitated head of Fanny Adams. It was placed on 2 hop poles. That wasn't all though. Other body parts were also lying around. She had been hacked to bits. Even her internal organs were hanging out or lying around. It was one of the most gruesome scenes people ever saw. Even the police were horrified. They couldn't believe anyone would do this to a person, let alone a child. Harriet was devastated, and George was enraged. He went home and grabbed his shotgun with the intent of killing Baker. However, neighbors were able to get the weapon off him and cool him down and comfort him. He had been playing cricket before he found out. Of course, with no phone back then, he couldn't be informed she was missing. When the party was formed, Harriet only knew for about an hour and a half. The family was depressed by all this. Baker was arrested at his work the next day. Mrs. Warner said this was the same man who the girls were with and where Fanny was last seen. Baker claimed his innocence. However, evidence started to come out. Baker had blood on his clothes. He also had blood on a knife. This alone wasn't enough, but more came. Witnesses said they saw Baker leave his office around 1 o'clock. He came back around 3:25 and then left again around 5:30. That was around the same time Harriet and Mrs. Warner saw him. Co-workers also said he made creepy comments. One being, "It would be really awkward for me if the child is murdered." Another one was, "I could go as a butcher when talking about a new job." A blood-stained rock with hair and skin was also found by a man named William Walker. But the biggest evidence was his diary. It said, "Killed a young girl. It was fine and hot." A little girl also claimed to have seen Baker wash blood off his clothes in the pond. Even before the trial, Baker was arrested and charged with Fanny's murder. He was held at Alton Town Hall. The police actually had to guard him. There were many people there who wanted a noose around his neck right there and then. Whenever he was taken somewhere, crowds of people were trying to kill him. The trial started on December 5th. Baker and his defense team claimed he was innocent due to a history of family mental illness. This included his father abusing his kids and even wanting to kill them, his sister dying from brain fever, a cousin going to an insane Islam several times, and attempting to take his own life after a love affair. Many testified against him, claiming he was the one, but the defense team questioned her and said the knives found were too small to chop her apart. But it was clear there was more evidence he did it than not, so they claimed he was insane. Despite his case for claiming insanity, the judge and jury didn't see it. It only took the jury 15 minutes to find him guilty for the murder of Fanny Adams. He was then given the death sentence. The day before he was executed, he wrote a friend hoping for God's forgiveness. On December 24th, Christmas Eve, Baker was hanged in front of a crowd of 5,000 people. This would actually be one of the last, and I think even the last, public hanging in Hampshire. All hangings after this would be private, until hanging was outlawed in the 1960s. Baker sent the Adams a letter saying he regretted what he did, and begged for forgiveness. He claimed he was angry at her crying. He said she died without pain. The community would raise enough money for a gravestone for Fanny. She was buried in Alton Cemetery, with many present. Her gravestone is still there today. But this isn't where the story ends. In 1869, the British Navy started giving canned meat to eat to sailors. The sailors did not like it, and jokingly claimed it was human body parts rather than animal. This led to them to joke that they were the parts of Fanny Adams. Soon, all canned meat was named Fanny Adams. Over time, the phrase Sweet Fanny Adams came to be, which means something like nothing at all, or not a damn thing. So this phrase, meaning nothing, came from a joke of bad canned meat, because of the murder of a girl. Fanny's murder was one of the most brutal child murders ever to happen in the UK, and looking at it, people are right. This just wasn't a case of strangulation or stabbing in the chest. Fanny was chopped up. To add insult to injury, her name was made into a joke. I'm not sure if I've ever heard the phrase much myself. Maybe it's more British slang, but at least I don't think I have heard anyone say it. Fanny's murder happened at a time when stranger danger wasn't much a thing. If the girls had told sooner, or if the adults had acted sooner, would that have saved Fanny? Luckily, her murderer was caught and punished. Many more cases possibly went unsolved due to limited technology and resources. Hopefully though, this video will give some insight to the term and the girl herself. So, did you know how the phrase was coined? When you found out, were you surprised about its origin? Just comment down below. Maybe Fanny had a short life, but her legacy lives on. Whether it's with the phrase or the girl herself, she will be remembered. So, Fanny isn't nothing. She's something. And maybe everything. Japan is a mostly peaceful nation, with a small crime rate. It doesn't get as much murders or kidnappings or theft or anything like that. It does get it. There is the Yakuza. Close enough. And just regular criminals. But compared to other developed countries, it's a lot lower. However, whenever they do commit a big crime, they always seem to take it up to the next level. There's the Junko Furuka case, the Nevada Chan case, and the Kobe child murders. All really creepy crimes. However, today I will be focusing not on a single person, but a group of people. A family, in fact. A father, a wife, a daughter, and a son, who were just living their life until it was taken away from them. On December 30th, 2000, the Miyazawa family were murdered in the safety of their own home in Setagaya, Japan. Not only that, but the killer also ate their food, used the computer, and stayed the night, as if this were the Overlook Hotel. Who did this and why this happens remains a mystery. 25 years later, even with all the evidence left behind, it's one of Japan's most baffling murder cases. I'll be looking at the murders, its theories, and the aftermath of what happened that night. So get in that robot, and let's take a look at the Setagaya family murders. The Miyazawas were your average Japanese family. Mikio Miyazawa was 44 years old and born around 1956. He was an employee at an international marketing company called Interbrand, a company based in England. He was described as nice and intelligent, a family man. He was married to a woman named Yasuko, who was born around 1959 and was a teacher at a local school. They had 2 children, a daughter and a son. Their daughter, Nina, was born in 1992. She was an active girl who loved ballet and soccer. Ray was born in 1994. He had a speech impediment that made it hard to understand him, but he was their pride and joy. It made him harder to raise, but they loved him, of course. People described him as a friendly family. The couple moved into the house in 1990. The house was actually 2 houses wedged into each other. The other half belonged to Yasuko's sister, her brother-in-law, and her mother. There was no way to get to the other half inside, so they had to use the outside door to visit. The community they lived in used to be vibrant, with many houses and families. However, by the turn of the century, most of the families had moved out, and the houses were demolished. This was because a park in the city expanded. The remaining houses were planned for this. Only 4 families were living in the neighborhood at the time of the murders, including the Miyazawas. The family was planning on moving soon, just like everyone else. But little did they know, they were about to become permanent residents there, and their house, a haunting memory. On December 31st, 2000, Yasuko's mother, Haruka, became worried when she called her daughter on the phone and got no response. And when no one opened the door when she knocked, she went over to her daughter's side of the home to check. There, she found a gruesome scene. There, lying on the floor at the bottom of the stairs, was her son-in-law, Mikio. He was covered in his own blood. She became worried for the rest of the family, screaming for them. She then checked through the house. On the 3rd floor, she found another nightmare. Both her daughter and granddaughter were dead on the floor too, covered in blood. Also, she saw Ray in bed. She might have had a ray of hope, hoping that her grandson escaped the massacre. But he was dead too. However, unlike the rest of the family, he had no wounds. Haruko called the police to tell them the family was murdered. They arrived soon after to find the mess. For most of these officers, it was the worst crime scene they had ever seen, and probably still is to this day. Many of them may have never seen a murder like this, much less 4. An investigation was made. While it was impossible to say what exactly went down that night, they do think they have an idea. December 30th, 2000. was a normal day for the family. It was a Saturday, so the family spent the day together. The family went shopping that evening around 6 o'clock p.m. at Seicho Kokorome Station and went back home around 7 o'clock. With just one more day of the New Year's, they had been buying snacks and drinks for the new year. They ate dinner and went around their activities. Mikio worked on his computer. Yasuko talked with her mom on the phone. Nina watched TV with her grandma next door until around 9:30. And Ray tucked in bed. Mikio used his computer around 10:40 to read an email that had to be put a password into it. As Mikio worked on his computer, he heard something upstairs. He probably thought his son just fell out of bed or was having a bad dream, but the reality was much worse. There, in his son's room, was a man, and this very same man was strangling his son right in front of him. As any father would do, Mikio ran into action and attacked the man. However, he was armed with a knife. He started to stab Mikio repeatedly. Despite being outmatched to the intruder, Mikio did possibly manage to injure him, according to a taxi witness later. But it was much too late for him. The intruder managed to stab him hard enough that the end of the blade broke off and engaged itself in his head. The intruder managed to make Mikio fall down the stairs as he plummeted to his death. The intruder didn't have enough though, as he stabbed him at the bottom of the stairs several times. Once he butchered Mikio, he went headed back upstairs. It seems all the commotion got the attention of Yasuko and Nina. The intruder then attacked them on the first floor, doing far worse to them than he did the other two. This has led some to think that he might have been a misogynist. Soon after, he decided to switch knives. He went back downstairs to the kitchen and grabbed a knife from there. Possibly thinking their attacker fled, the girls tried to put bandages on their wounds. But soon he returned and finished the job. All of this most likely happened around 11:30. In just a short time frame, the intruder killed a family of 4. Now, most people would flee the scene, try to get as far away as possible. Maybe, if they have enough time, they will get rid of the evidence. But this man did the opposite. He made himself at home. He ate their food, such as their ice cream. He used Mikio's computer. He used the toilet and didn't flush. Swapped clothes, and even had the nerve to sleep on the couch. There's a reason this case has been nicknamed the Goldilocks murder. He was confident and cocky. There was a chance a cop could have found him asleep. On the computer, he visited the Shiki Theater Company, which was bookmarked on the computer. He even tried to buy tickets. Later, he visited the website of Mikio and Yasuko's jobs. Before leaving, he pulled the plug and took it with him. Sometime later, he left the house, leaving everything behind. Soon, Yasuko's mother got worried when her calls and knocks went unanswered. So, she went inside and found the nightmare scene. The cops were shocked when they showed up. There was one question: who did this and why? It's not every day that a whole family is murdered, especially in Japan. The community was shocked it happened to the Miyazawas, a nice family with no troubles. Why would anyone target them? It didn't seem really any valuables were missing, other than some money. The phones were not plugged in, suggesting the intruder unplugged them. The intruder did look for cabinets though. He left all the evidence there. Investigators needed to find out how he did all this. While it's impossible to say, here's what they think happened. The intruder most likely came through the second-story bathroom. He likely got in by climbing up the fence and the air conditioner. The screen to the window was found on the ground, and his footsteps were found nearby. After getting in, he killed Ray by choking him. After this, he murdered Mikio. Mikio either heard him and ran up to the intruder, or the intruder ran up to him. It's hard to say. Yasuko and Nina heard the fight, and then the intruder found them and killed them. The knife broke, and he went to get another one. The girls healed their wounds during this, only for him to return with another knife. After that, the intruder made himself a guest, before leaving hours later. He left everything: his original clothes, the knife, his blood, fingerprints, even feces in the toilets. For the police, it was a gold mine. They thought the killer would be found in no time. It's been 25 years. Even after looking at the DNA and evidence, he has never been found. The feces were tested. They contained a meal that had string beans and sesame seeds. The fingerprints were tested, but nothing was found in the Japan databases. However, they were able to find something a little bit more interesting with his clothes. The clothes included a hat, a scarf, a down jacket, a black handkerchief, black gloves, a dark green hip bag, and Slazenger sneakers. He most likely bought most of these things at the Sagamani ward. For one, his shoes were in Korean size. Sizes differ from country to country. Korean sizes are not sold in Japan. To add to this, they found out his clothes had been washed in hard water, which is also a Korean thing. This would give the idea that the intruder was from South Korea. However, what was found in a bag added to the mystery. Investigators found some grains of sand that can only be found around the Los Angeles area in the Nevada desert, more particularly around a military base. This might give off the intruder was in the American military and was stationed in Japan. It's unknown if there was ever a test done to look at troops who were in the LA base around the time. It's believed his father was Eastern Asian and his mother South European. After looking at his blood type is Class A, and he was probably around 5'6" or 5'7". Police checked the shirt he was wearing. They found out a few had been sold in the past several months, but they got no one suspicious. A taxi driver picked up 3 men hours after the murder, one who was bleeding. Some think there might have been 3 murderers rather than 1. A hospital also treated a man with the same description as the killer on the 31st. Yasuzo's sister says she saw a car parked outside the house on Christmas. A man dressed similar to the killer was seen by the people at Seijo Kakurame Station on the 29th and at Shinjikawa Station on the 30th. Witnesses thought this was strange as they thought he was underdressed for the cold weather. Whatever the case, would they attack this family? Were they a victim of a robbery gone wrong? Or were they a target? Some theories have been made for the murders. One of the first theories was that they were skaters. Neighbors would tell the police that Mikio did get in some arguments with some teenagers. Teen skaters were skating in the park nearby, and Mikio probably yelled at them for being loud, which led to some heated arguments. But would this really lead to one of them to kill an entire family? There was grip tape found in the bag. Skaters often use grip tape on their boards. It's also believed that he was in his 20s or his late teens. Many skaters are often in this age group. Another theory was someone had a grudge. Maybe Mikio ticked the wrong person off at work. However, while he supposedly did have conflicts at work, he had no known enemies. Mikio was also found in business clothes, despite it being late at night. Some people wonder if he was planning on meeting someone, and something horribly wrong. Was Mikio hiding something from his family? There's also the simple theory of a robbery gone wrong. Maybe the intruder was only there to steal. But it's possible Ray woke up and was about to yell. With nowhere to run, the intruder had to kill Ray, and then the rest of the family. Some think it was a serial killer. However, serial killers usually have routines. Their murders will usually be similar, and there were not any murderers similar to this one. Some have even theorized an inside job. Maybe it was a member of the family. It would explain why the intruder seemed to know the layout well, and was confident in staying. There is also the foreigner theory, that it might have been someone from South Korea or the USA, particularly a man in the military, yet the family members seem determined to solve this case. Other theories have gone from Yakuza to a man with mental illness. Whatever the case, he hasn't been found despite there being over 12,000 pieces of evidence left behind. Despite it being 25 years, the police haven't given up. They have told both Mikio and Yasuka's families they want to solve this. Maybe one day the killer will make a slip up and will get caught. If he was in the US military and nothing was ever checked, maybe they could look at who was in the LA base or stationed in Japan at the time. Or maybe the one clue is already there, but has been missed. Until then, though, the mystery will continue. "25 years and no answers. Much has changed in Setagaya since. New buildings, new residents, and more. But one thing has stayed the same: the Miyazawa's home. Other than many belongings being put into boxes, the house is still as the family left it on that dreadful December night. It's a chilling reminder to the people who live there. A house frozen in time with no closure. Mikio's mother, Satsuka, was still alive as of 2022 at the age of 90. However, there isn't much information on her since. Her husband, Mikio's father, died some years before. There also isn't much information on Yasuko's mother, Haruka, though ChatGPT says she passed away. Satsuka hopes for a breakthrough while she's still alive. All she wants is closure before her time comes. She not only lost her son, but her daughter-in-law and 2 grandchildren. No one should have to go through that. Hopefully, if she is still around, she will get to see the clothes she wants, so she can rest in peace. So the Miyazawa family can rest in peace. The police are also hoping for more news. Some detectives who worked on the case in the early days have since retired, but new ones have replaced them and intend to keep the case going. The house is still there today. It's like a skeleton that won't be properly buried, but investigators still need it just in case. If the case ever is solved, maybe the house can be demolished and a memorial can be put in its place. Of course, maybe the house could be the memorial, so that the spirits of the family will have a home. At one point, a Buddha statue was put close to the home. Who put it there and for what reason is unknown. However, the statue is supposed to help guide children to the afterlife. Some think it was left by the killer, who had remorse, but no one really knows. Until the crime may be solved, though, the community may never be at peace. Home is supposed to be where people feel most safe. A place where they don't have to worry. But for the Miyazawa family, took all that away. For Japan, it's a scar that won't heal. 25 years have passed, and the killer is still out there. He left evidence all over, even his clothes. He even made himself at home. But despite everything, he's never been found. He might even have a family of his own, who have no idea of his past. With better DNA technology, investigators hope for a breakthrough one day. We can only hope. Today, Mikio would be 69, Yasuko would be 66, Nina would be 33, and Rei would be 31. Nina and Rei might even have their own families, but instead, they are a part of Japan's most mysterious and sad crimes. Most of the people who lived there in 2000 have since moved somewhere else, but the Miyazawas are residents forever. They are still waiting for the year 2001. Let us hope that one day the killer will face justice. Only then can the Miyazawas truly move.